Remember our story about Joshua leading God's people into the Promised Land? It would be more than 250 years before Israel had another leader like Joshua. Instead of having one leader who could help Israel follow God for a long time, Israel had a whole bunch of leaders who were raised up by God when there was trouble, and then disappeared when the trouble was over. There are 12 of these leaders named in the Bible: Othniel, Ehud, Shamgar, Deborah, Gideon, Tola, Jair, Jephthah, Ibzan, Elon, Abdon, and Samson. Do you notice that some of those names sound familiar, while others sound really crazy and weird? Have you ever met anyone named Othniel or Shamgar? How would you like to be named Othniel or Shamgar? No? Well, who could blame you? Deborah helped the Israelites when they were attacked by the Canaanites. Gideon helped the Israelites when they were attacked by the Midianites. Jephthah helped the Israelites when they were attacked by Ammonites. The judges tried and tried to help the Israelites live God's way, but the people just wouldn't listen. The Bible even says they would not listen to their judges. The Israelites needed another leader. Samuel was trying his best to help Israel follow God. Who was Samuel? He was a prophet of God. What is a prophet? A prophet was a person who delivered messages from God. God would speak to the prophet, and then the prophet would tell the people what God wanted them to do. Since Israel didn't have a leader, prophets like Samuel would try to help them follow God. Whenever the Israelites wandered away from God, Samuel would say, "Hey, you're going the wrong way." Samuel tried to get the Israelites to do the right things, but they didn't always listen, just like they hadn't listened to the judges. "You aren't our king," they'd say, which was a little like saying, "You're not the boss of me." The Israelites kept messing up. They ignored God and his prophet, so God let Israel's enemies get the best of them. The Philistines attacked them over and over, taking their sheep and cows and even taking whole cities. The Philistines were big and strong. They knew how to make swords and spears out of iron. These were harder and stronger than the bronze swords and spears of the Israelites. The Israelites were scared of the Philistines. "We need a king to protect us," the Israelites told Samuel. "But God is your king," Samuel said. The Israelites didn't want God to be their king. They wanted a human to be their king, just like the nations around them. Someone big and tall and strong. Someone who could wear fancy robes and ride out in front of them on a fancy horse. Someone who looked impressive. Finally, God said, "Fine, you want a king? You can have a king." Samuel asked God who should be Israel's first king, and God said, "Saul." Saul looked like a king. He was tall. He was strong. He was handsome. He was exactly what Israel wanted. "Hooray!" they shouted. "Now we'll be safe." And they were safe. For a while. Saul's first battle against the Philistines was a big success. The Israelites won. "Hooray for King Saul!" they shouted. Tall, strong, and brave, Saul was good at fighting battles, but he wasn't very good at following God's directions. Samuel would tell Saul what God wanted him to do, and sometimes Saul would do the exact opposite. If Samuel said, "God wants you to go right," Saul would go left. If Samuel said, "God wants you to go up," Saul would go down. How could the Israelites be God's people if their leader wouldn't do what God said? Israel needed a leader who would help them be a holy nation. They needed a leader who would help them follow God's rules, so they could live with him and bring the blessings that would save the whole world. Remember God's promise to Abraham? The blessing that would rescue God's creation from sin? Having a godly leader for Israel was really, really important. Even though Saul looked like a king, he wasn't a good king because he didn't listen to God. In his heart, he didn't really want to do what God said. Israel needed a new king, a godly king, a king who wanted to follow God with his whole heart. God told Samuel he was going to pick a new king for Israel, and the person he was going to pick would surprise them all. And that's a story for next time.